welcome everybody around the world. Welcome to all my subscribers. You are all truly in for a treat tonight with this video because I can assure you, you will not have heard this before. There's one element that people have heard before, but trust me when I tell you this, and I'm not going to try and take credit for that one element, I'll openly say that, okay, but this find here, which I made on an astronomical program on my phone. I have an app. It's absolutely mind-blowing. You could do everything with this app. It's to do with astronomy. You can position yourself out in space and look at anything in space, whether it's planets, the sun, moon, meteors, this and that. You can watch them in tracking by and everything. You can position yourself, your perspective from Earth, and then look at the sky overhead. You can also speed it up per minute, day, hour, week, year, go forward thousands of years into the future and track every single celestial object as it's going by the Earth. You can watch the constellations move around as they move in their own patterns and everything. Okay, it's an absolutely astonishing program. Now, what is absolutely incredible, this thing that I found on here, and I have this little diagram which I'll point things out on. Ignore my maths and other scribbles. I'll get to that in a second. Now, the thing I'm not here to take credit for is the fact that many other people have talked about the Revelation 12 sign that they say was fulfilled, and the majority of people say it was like 2016, 2017. Now, I'm actually here to show that it gets better than that, okay? But many people have said that in Revelations 12, it can be read in like a hidden parallel prophetic sense, saying that, tongue-in-cheek, it's actually revealing that there will be a cosmic sign in the heavens to do with the constellations. And people took the virgin mentioned here, which is representing Israel in Revelation 12, they take it to be the constellation Virgo, which is the virgin, okay? And allegedly, I haven't been able to personally prove this, but allegedly the people making these Revelation 12 sign claims are saying that at that time, whenever it was, 2016 or 17, there was a crown of 12 stars above Virgo. Now, I tried to find this in my research. In the bit that I spent trying to find it, I couldn't find anything, and I just didn't want to continue wasting my time because I think that's fruitless. But what I can ascertain and prove today for everybody is that, and if anybody, call my bluff because I'm not here lying, if you open up any good, proper astronomical program, there's many out there that work just like the one on my phone, okay, and you look at the current position of the heavens over the planet Earth, the current position of all the constellations, what you will see at this current time, we're at the brink of 2023. We almost might as well say that we're in 2023. We're only about 5 or 6 weeks off, right? So for simplicity's sake, let's just say we're at 2023, okay, because we're close enough. We're years after 2016 and 17 now. So forget about what everybody has said about the Revelation 12 sign, right? That's what everybody has talked about. Here's everything else that I have discovered. This is mind-blowing. If this information isn't, seen by more people and shared, then it would be a tragedy upon this planet Earth, because this is something incredible. This is what the heavens look like above. Let me see if I can get something to point. Maybe I'll just use my finger. This is what the heavens look like above the Earth right now. Okay? We have Virgo down here. That's the head, those are the legs. Okay? The Revelation 12 sign only, theory only takes really in account Virgo and the position of the sun, which I have noted here, one of these. That's the moon, I think, and that's the sun. So they say the moon, in 2016 or 17, they say that the moon was at her feet and that the sun was wherever around here at some point, and that there were alleged 12 stars here. Now, like I said, I couldn't verify that, but such a thing happening in 2016-17 is irrelevant and pointless to point out anyways. It doesn't have any biblical bearance on anything. The fact is, we're basically at 2023 now. Regardless, this is the current position of the sky at the current moment. Okay? And it will not change much over the next, few weeks, months, in next year or so. It won't change that dramatically. The things that will move more are the sun and the moon. Okay, the constellations take a very long time to move into these types of positions. So right now we have Virgo here. Now right here we have Leo, the constellation of the lion. That's the head, this is the feet, tail. Okay. The other thing I noticed is we have Libra, which represents the scales of justice. Okay. So all of these important constellations are around Virgo. So if the Revelation 12 sign theory is, there is credence to it, this is what I was examining for myself. I began to look around and I noticed this. Well, we have Leo here. That's significant because Jesus returns like a lion, right? And, the lion of the tribe of Judah. We have the scales of justice here. So as I looked further and panned around in the sky, I noticed, oh, what do you know? We had Scorpio here. And then I noticed above Scorpio we had a serpent. Serpens caput. What this showed me with, common sense and some may call wisdom, is that, okay, if there is credence to the Revelation 12 sign theory, as some have mentioned, then this would be a beautiful expansion upon that, because we have Virgo here, we have the lion, which has strong connection to Jesus' return to start with. We have the scales of justice, which would make sense if we're talking about a judgment day. Not only that, but on the judgment day, the opponents, the adversaries are judged and crushed, which would be the serpent and the scorpion, the representatives of death itself, right? How beautifully fitting is this right here, right? But not only that, we do have Draco, the dragon, up here. And not only that, we have the crown, the Corona Borealis, which is actually one of my favorite constellations, because I discovered things about this constellation back when I was 14 years old. So it has personal significance to me. So to me, it's cool that it's part of all this going on here. But anyways, it is the crown constellation, the northern crown, which is more biblically significant. There is a southern crown elsewhere. So again, what we have is we have Virgo the Virgin, which represent Israel, the Jews and the Christians, okay, the worthy of the world, right, the righteous ones. We have the lion, we have the scales of justice, we have the serpent and the scorpion. Up here we have the dragon, and we have the crown here. Okay, we also have Hercules, which wasn't called Hercules by every ancient person, right? But nonetheless, I'll get to that last. What we see here as a picture, a prophetic picture, could easily be interpreted in an end-day sense, because we have the dragon. This is the head of the dragon, by the way, and the crown. It looks like the crown has fallen off the dragon's head. The crown is falling towards the Virgin, Israel. The lion is here. The lion has come, obviously, is alongside the Virgin. The other thing alongside the Virgin is the scales of justice, which could represent the judgment itself. These are the two adversaries, scorpion and serpent, being judged, not to mention the dragon. But this is the story being unfolded here in the constellations. The dragon has been defeated. His crown will fall and will fall towards Israel. Israel will have the crown, which will probably be worn by Messiah. We have the coming of the Messiah as the lion to assist the virgin Israel. We have the scales of justice, the judgment coming to assist the virgin Israel, in which the serpent, the scorpion, will be judged. Obviously also the dragon. Now, not only that, this figure here, it was only Hercules to the Greeks and Romans. But what this figure is a human with like a warrior's weapon or club. Now Hercules is famous for killing the serpent when he was a youth, which is why the Greeks and the Romans portrayed it as such. But looking at it in a universal sense, to try and divulge like a cosmic sign, right, with a neutral observation, this is a person wielding a weapon, a man. Now this, whoever it may represent, whether it represents the Messiah or not, we don't need to argue over. This is a minor point. But we see a man of war who is fighting the serpent. And not only that, but it's fair to say that he is actually judged on his positioning. He's actually fighting the serpent and the scorpion. Because remember, Leo's a lion. It represents the man. So rightfully, you could argue this might actually represent the Messiah coming to bash and destroy the serpent. After all, the Genesis prophecy foretold that, the son, the seed, would crush the head of the serpent. I don't know why my light went dark there. Maybe my battery's going. Okay, and the light came back. Oh, it was my computer display. That's strange. Anyways, so this is not a coincidence. This positioning, I don't know how fast each one moves. I could track it on my program, but I spent hours on that, like an hour on the program already, and I didn't want to spend more time because, you have to pay for all that. But these things won't change much. Like, they probably started to align back in 2016 or whatever, and whatever those people saw with the crown of stars, I don't know what that was or what it could have been, but that year is irrelevant anyways. We're at 2023. That's the biblically significant year. This is what we have going into 2023. It is the Revelation 12 story in picture form. I mean, it's quite striking. I mean, if we go to Luke 21:20, in Luke 21, the disciples have asked Jesus, if I'm not mistaken, at the start of the chapter, what is the sign that you have arrived with, that the end days have arrived and that you have arrived? What is the sign? So Jesus gives a long explanation, and he says, after the times and nations have been fulfilled, which would be the 1335 years, but anyways, Jesus says in verse 25, and there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. Okay? The word sign like this, in such a prophetic end day sense, in relevance and use, is only used a few times. I did a study on this. I think I mentioned it in some recent video that I did. So I know it only occurs a few times. I thought it occurred more. It's just a few. So this is one of the few. Signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Right? What are these but the stars? These, I would say, look like a sign to me. What type of sign do they look like? Well, it looks like in Revelation 12, it says a great sign was seen in the heaven. So it's fair to say, if that term is only used a few times in the New Testament, maybe in the whole Bible, but at least in the New Testament, just a few times to talk about prophetically the end days, okay, then it is of full relevance to consider that Revelation 12 could be hiding a parallel, like a deeper level understanding to it, which is why all those other people came out with the Revelation 12 sign theory. Fair enough, right? It says, and a great sign was seen in the heaven. A woman, Virgo, this is what we're considering, a woman, Virgo, arrayed with the sun. Oh, this is what I forgot to point out here. Currently, I assume the sun and moon would change quicker than the constellations do, right? Currently, we have the sun in Libra and the moon over by Leo. I have no clue where they are right at this moment, because this is from yesterday, the star chart. The constellations will still be there. These probably change daily, I would imagine. They're probably very actively moving, whereas these move a lot slower to our perception. Okay? But the Revelation 12 says, a great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman arrayed with the sun. So let's not worry about the sun right now, because it's not 2023 yet. If 2023 arrives and the meteors start falling down to the earth and other revelation events start unfolding, and then we open up our astronomy apps and notice that, hey, the sun and the moon are in the right places, okay, then we can clap. But right now, there's no point, whatever, right? Let's look at the more important things. A woman arrayed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. So I don't know where the crown of 12 stars is. It could be a reference, because of the use of the word crown, to this one here. This has only got 7 major stars, however. But, let's not fuss over these things. Look at the major pictures that are being portrayed. A woman and a crown. Okay? Let's not fuss over where sun and moon are and other more minor things. And then she says, being with child, she does cry out, travailing, pain to bring forth. I think on a parallel level, on a deeper level, that's symbolic of the world in general being, pregnant with the times for the end days. Travailing to bring forth is used in end days symbolism elsewhere in the Bible, right? So then in the next verse it says, and there is seen another sign in the heaven, and lo, a great red dragon, that would be Draco, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his head 7 diadems. So he had his own crown at some point. The crown has fallen off. And this picture is looking at everything in a, on a deeper level, in a simplified and deeper level. It's not saying that Israel is going to wear the crown of Satan. It's saying that Satan's dominion has been taken and ended, and the dominion is given to Israel. That's how you are to logically understand it, right? Don't take everything too literally, right? But we see the dragon appear in the story of Revelation 12, in the sign of Revelation 12. And the dragon did stand before the woman. So we do see this taking place here. And what's in between? The crown. So we know from Revelation the dragon loses the crown, and the crown goes to Messiah in Israel. So this picture of what currently is occurring in the heavens above us is lining up with the alleged Revelation 12 sign. Okay? And he says, he stand before the woman who's about to bring forth. That would be the righteous. About when it says bring forth from the earth, I interpret that as those who will be raptured away to safety, resurrected, and then everybody good who's raptured away to safety. Right? So the dragon did stand before the woman who's about to bring forth, that when she may bring forth her child, he may devour. So he wants to kill us. All of us who are going to be taken away from the earth and rescued, he wants to kill us. So he's waiting for this. And she brought forth a male child. So we know in the direct sense of Revelation 12 is talking about Israel and the birth of Jesus. But in the hidden, deeper level understanding, in the parallel, this would be hinting towards the arrival of Jesus in the second coming. So whereas in the direct interpretation of Revelation 12 would be about his direct birth, initial birth, the hidden parallel on the deeper level would be, covertly actually revealing in code his second coming, his second arrival. So she brought forth a male child. So the Messiah arrives. Well, that would be represented as the lion, like I said, who is about to rule all the nations, crown again, rule all the nations with a rod of iron, and caught away was her child unto God and his throne. So Jesus comes to take us back to God's throne, right? And it says the woman did flee to the wilderness. So if the woman represents Israel, the Jews and the Christians, and the chosen, the righteous, whoever else may be included, when it says next in verse 6, and the woman did flee to the wilderness, this could be when we're taken off this earth and we go up into the heavens to go off to the new earth. And maybe this world gets renewed and it's the new earth, right? But in interim, we're going to be taken up into the heavens. So the woman did flee to the wilderness, where she has a place made ready from God, that there they may nourish her. And then I think the deeper level interpretation must logically end, because the verses, the chronology of Revelation 12 then repeats itself in the next verses. In Revelation 9, it talks about the great dragon being cast forth, and then it talks about the same measure of time. So anyways, my point being is I only think that deeper layer of interpretation goes for those first 6 verses, and then it's rendered inapplicable. So that's quite astounding. So I would actually say, in my own judgment for myself, I would say there's more than enough reason to believe that, yeah, we're basically at 2023 now. This is what the heavens look like. This is actually telling the biblical story. Okay, we even have Hercules crushing the serpent, which is reminiscent of Genesis, the initial prophecy of the end days, where Messiah will crush the head of the serpent. Okay, we even have that there as well. But we also have the Revelation 12 sign with the dragon, the crown, the virgin, the lion, and with the scales of justice, and the, over the serpent and the scorpion. I think this is absolutely incredible. I mean, the more I dig for proof and pray that God will show me proof, I find more and more proof. This is absolutely incredible. This deserves recognition, right? And yes, those people deserve the recognition they already got. It's already been 4 years for the Revelation 12 sign so far, but nobody has pointed this out. As far as I know, I'm the only person to mention this. I mean, 2023 is not that far away. It could happen at any point in 2023, okay? And, if it happens early in 2023, we might be talking about a few months left. Not a year and a few months, but just a few months left, right? And this type of discovery needs to be shared with millions and millions. I mean, there's 2.5 billion Christians. Why not share it with all of them and with all the non-Christians? This needs to be shared and needs to reach at least millions of people. It deserves to, before the end comes. Because God said he would give us signs in the stars. What else could that mean? And when he uses that same word, and there is a sign in the heavens, and then he gives us those pictograms, if you depict it, if you would call it that, and we see it laid out above us right now in the heavens. Okay? Right now in the heavens, it is laid out above us. Now, I'm going to mention it now in case somebody else beats me to it. But I just have a hankering. I may be wrong, but if it's correct, this would be even more astronomical proof. We know the mysterious cherubim had 4 faces: a man, eagle, lion, and an ox. And I've been thought, but with this program I have now, I could actually map it out. This is very hard to map through the whole sky looking for everything. Well, we know from here, we got the lion here. And we got a few options for the face of the man. It could be the Hercules, it could be Butes, or Boots, whatever you call it. It could be Virgo, well, that's a woman, but, so we got the lion and the man here. And I thought, well, what if, Taurus is over here? And what if Aquila, the eagle, is over here? And then you'd have the 4 faces. And what if those 4 faces are encircling this little constellation, smorgasbord here? That for me would just, on a deeper level, just absolutely seal and concrete it in. Now, like I said, that's just a hunch that I had. It might be that the eagle's way off kilter and it doesn't work out like that. But, maybe it is. I'm just mentioning it now in case somebody else watching my videos, uses these programs, has the idea. I've long thought about it for years. Now I have the means to look for it. So with some further work, I will go find out where Taurus, Aquila are in relation to these. And if it does encapsulate them like a square or whatever, that would be even more, significant on a deeper level. But that's too deep a level, right? The more relevant thing and applicable thing is this right here. I mean, this clearly must be what God was talking about. Signs in the heavens above. What other type of signs are we going to see? Stop and think about it. What other signs? You know what I mean? Unless he's talking about the actual end day arriving, where, Jesus is here, the resurrection's occurring, and all the rocks are falling down on us, at that magical hour of doom. Unless he's talking about that, what other signs could he be talking about? The sun goes dark and the moon go dark at a specific point. You know what I mean? Then it's too late. So what other signs are we going to get that the end days are approaching? What possible signs could we get? There's hundreds of meteors that fall every year on Earth. Those aren't signs. What signs could we possibly get? Stop and ask yourself. This is the least fantastic of any option you could consider. You might say, well, what if we saw a giant blazing cross in the sky? Okay, well, that's pretty fantastic. This isn't fantastic. This is real life right above us right now. What it is quite fantastic. So you don't need to imagine something fantastic that might occur. This is a fantastic sign, literally in the stars right now. So I think there's more than enough reason to believe that Revelation 12 theory, the Revelation 12 sign theory, has credence to it. And I think, it goes as far as verse 6 or 7, whatever it was, and that's where it just becomes fruitless after that, or just inapplicable. I think that was a strong hint to us. And like how I continue to read in deeper parallel, I think it does reveal the second coming. It reveals, it directly and openly talks about the first coming, but in cheek it's actually talking about the second coming as well at the same time. So there we go, folks. We have even more confirmation in conjunction with everything else that I've talked about. So if the end days are coming, I just want to end on this little inspirational verse here. In Acts 17, verse 30, it says, the times indeed, therefore, of the ignorance, God having overlooked, does now command all men everywhere to reform. Churches don't often teach this. You got to reform. I'm not here to preach, but this is what I'm going to end on. Inspirational verse for the day. The times indeed, therefore, the ignorance God having overlooked, does now command all men everywhere to reform. So not reforming is being in the ignorance that God once overlooked, but now he's not going to tolerate that ignorance. Now you can't be ignorant to reformation. You got to reform. He commands it. Now you got to command. Now command all men everywhere to reform. So you got to reform. In verse 31, because he did set a day in which he's about to judge the world in righteousness by a man whom he did ordain, having given assurance to all, having raised him out of the dead. So there you go, folks. All right. And from Luke 21, in verse 25, and there shall be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the land is distress of nations with perplexity, sea and billow roaring, men fainting at heart from fear and expectation of the things coming on the world, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and much glory. And these things beginning to happen, bend yourselves back and lift up your heads, because your redemption does draw nigh. All right, folks, so you heard it here. Share the message. This is the sign. There's probably much more to see, but I think using logic, the most relevant thing here, because the main subject of Revelation 12 is the virgin, that this will be like the cornerstone, and the things most directly surrounding it would be the most logically relevant. So we have virgin, Leo the lion, the scales of justice, serpent, scorpion, dragon's obviously relevant, and crown. Hercules is an extra, might be relevant too. These are the most immediate. The ones underneath I don't think were relevant. I didn't bother pursuing further on that. I was focusing more on everything else around here. Okay, so I think this is logical. I think this is really good. Please share this information. Please give me credit, because I do deserve it. I gave credit to those who sorry, I acknowledge those others, so I don't know their names, who announced first the talk of the Revelation 12 sign. But I mean, it's like saying you're announcing, oh, there's this great. I'm not putting them down. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. I'm just saying, it's all good that they discovered that, and thank God they did. But it was a few years ago, and that date that they found it on was irrelevant. It's not relevant to anything. There is no 7 years of tribulation. That's not a fact. Go ask any scholar. Any scholar will tell you that there's nowhere in the Bible talks about a 7-year tribulation. Okay, that's not a biblical thing. Just a lot of churches teach it. So they think that, 2016, 17 plus the 7 years will give you 2023. So just indirectly, by coincidence, they end up, with 2023 again, but not through the proper direct methods, right? They just ended up there indirectly through an, ironic discovery at the time. So anyways, God bless you all, folks. Please share the message. Let's hope and pray that the end is near, not because we want destruction, but because we want redemption. That's the reason why. We want to be able to be at peace. We want all the crime to end. We want God to help us. None of us are perfect. None of us are righteous. Okay, we all deserve punishment of different forms, right? It's only by His mercy, grace, and forgiveness that we'll be forgiven. But if we don't reform, we won't deserve that. So we have to ask God to help us to reform. Any bad things that we do, we have to ask God to help us. If we feel powerless to stop them, we have to ask God for help and plead. Let Him know that you realize the end is near, and this is your final hours to change. Not even final hour, but this is the final hours, so to speak, to change. You don't feel like you're able to change by your own power. You've tried and you've tried. You can't do it on whatever certain things that are afflicting, that are bringing you down into darkness. You got to ask God now and say, look, I need your help. I'm letting you know I'm not ignorant. I know, and I'm watching, because I know the end is near, and I don't want to be doomed or left behind. Please don't leave me behind. Please help me. You know what I mean? God and Jesus promised. I'm pretty sure they did. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they promised to help us. Okay? So ask them for help. If you don't ask, maybe you won't get the help. Maybe you won't. So if you just sit there trying by yourself, you're just waiting and waiting, you don't get it right, you can't get right, and then you're not reformed and you're not good enough. When the judgment day comes, it'll be too late. You'll get left behind. You're going to watch everybody else lift up and away, and you won't be going anywhere. And you just be thinking, why not? And if the angels come to the door, take one person and not you, you'll be like, well, what's wrong with me? I'm a Christian. Well, I'm sorry, you didn't make the cut. You'll get upset, you'll get angry. You know what I mean? But what can you do about it? The people in those days wouldn't even be able to die. Even if you, probably at that point, if you're trying to kill yourself, it wouldn't even work. So, Revelation 9 says, when the pit is open and all those monsters and creatures come out, it is said to them, do not harm those with the seal of God on them, because they're still on the earth. You can only harm those with the mark of the beast. The angels are going around sealing the people and taking them away. So, if you get turned away, you're going to be there at the time where it says in the following verses that they will seek death in those days, will not be able to seek it. That's going to be terrifying, right? It could happen to me. I'm not good. I'm a good person, but, I'm not good enough. I don't want to be left behind. None of you should want to be left behind. Sure as hell don't want to be left behind. Even suicide won't get you away from it. You won't be able to escape it. You're going to be stuck here for 5 months, like it says, to be tormented. And every time you die, you'll keep coming back. You won't be able to die, however it works. You just won't be able to die. and be tormented for 5 months, and that's before you get taken away to the hellish realms as further punishment, if that's your lot. Right? So we don't want any of this to happen. Trust me, I've lived those things. I've lived those things for like 20 something years in this prophetic dream of the end days I repeatedly have throughout my life since I was a child. I've lived those days, and those things are terrifying. I'm telling you now, if the, if those dreams, even if those dreams aren't, from God, they're just wacky dreams that I had that happen to be just like what the end days are, I can tell you, you don't want to go through them. Whether it's a bona fide dream, whether it's not, I've lived through something like that. Just like the end days, what it says it would be like Revelation 9. I can tell you, you wouldn't wish that upon anybody. Okay, you'd probably even feel bad for some of the most evil people on the planet once you see them going through the things that will probably transpire there. Okay, and the only way we're going to avoid all this is by reforming now. Okay, I'm not a preacher. I don't think I'm a good preacher or a person to inspire people like that there. I'm saying this plain as day, as one sinner to another. Okay, the end of days could come tonight. We don't know the day or hour. I hope and pray that this comes. I really do think it will happen. The Bible says everybody will be saying peace and charity, and then will come sudden destruction. It'll be like the days of Noah. Everybody will be oblivious. The impending sudden doom that's going to come upon them. They'll be living their everyday lives. Okay, you're not going to get any warning. It's going to come out of left field. This is what's going to happen. Okay, so 2023, it's fixed. 1948 is fixed. The rebirth of Israel. You can't change 1948, so you can't change 2023. It's going to happen in 2023. And I'll finish off from this year. If you want extra proof, like I said many, many times, 1948, what started appearing on the planet? UFOs. Like I've shown in my other videos, whether they're good or bad, that would be significant. I believe the majority of them are probably angels, the celestial beings. Some angels are probably spirits. A lot of angels are probably physical beings, just like us, but immortal or whatever, teach their own. And if you don't believe me on this, go check out my videos that I have where I read dozens of verses from the Old and New Testament showing you that outer space is the heavens where the sun, moon, stars, and constellations are. Okay, the heavens are full of the host of the heavens, beings that bow before God, serve God, pray to God, sing praises of God, do things for God. They come to earth and do things for God. The host of the heavens are all up there. And when they come to the earth, we regard them as angels. Angels, just the rendering of the word messenger. Okay? So, it's not like you and I have ever been in one of those UFOs. We don't know who's flying them, good, bad, or what. The fact is, the observable fact that you can't take away is that in 1947, 1948, they started showing up. Whereas they were pretty much non-existent beforehand. There was a few crashes or whatever, but basically nothing. 1948 started showing up. Roswell's the first major occurrence that made the media. They started showing up. Now, some of them might be fallen angels observing us. I think a lot of them are probably good angels. What angels do but watch. They're called watchers in the book of Daniel. So the angels would watch over us. They wouldn't interfere unless God told them to. What are these UFOs doing? They've been watching us since 1948. They're still in the skies now. Many world governments have declassified this information, even America now. The UFOs are real. They are not humans piloting them. It's impossible for any human nation to have the technology capable of that. This has already been stated by the American government. So these are otherworldly beings that are here physically and actually tangibly watching us and have been since 1948. Again, that cannot be a coincidence. What are they here watching? Why are they here? Why did they suddenly turn up in 1948? Because it was the final generation. Israel had just been reborn. Daniel's prophecy had been fulfilled. The 1260th year had ended. The ingathering of the Jews and Christians back to Israel had started in 1948. Okay, so anyways, folks, God bless you all. Take care.